This is absolutely mind-blowing as we have some more interesting Leafs updates to go over today, including one piece of information that has dropped that is absolutely jaw-dropping. To break down exactly what that is, we'll discuss some other updates and comments ahead of what's going to be the biggest game in the last decade for this Toronto Maple Leafs team against the Panthers tomorrow. But before we get into it, folks, we are getting extremely close to 17,000 subscribers. If you want to help us towards that goal, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. And if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We go live after every game, multiple videos a day, keeping you up to date with all the latest Leafs news. And the Leafs are winning for the first time in the core four area here. They're actually making progress, I should say. And fans are confident for the first time in a very long time. Darius, there's a lot to go over today, and I want to focus in on some interesting stats that have dropped and some interesting updates. I want to start with this because we were talking about this off camera a little bit, and I'm very curious to see what you all think about it in the comment section. The Leafs are allowing the fewest goals against at 5-on-5 among current playoff teams. And we discussed it in a previous video, the different lines and how the fourth line was outperforming the top line in the last series, all these different things. We'll dive into a little bit here. But at this point, the Leafs are allowing the fewest goals against in 5-on-5 among playoff teams. And this goes to show that not only is this team, built different, they are playing an extremely good brand of hockey that is sustainable and something that we saw Craig Berube kind of mold into them and really teach, Mitch Marner, Austin Matthews, and clearly the whole team how to play playoff hockey for 82 games in the regular season, which is translated to this mind-blowing stat, which I'm seeing, kind of blowing up a little bit. It has fans, Mike and myself included, fired up.
This team is built different. I've seen enough at this point. It absolutely is. And they won a lot of close games during the regular season, like you just said, and a lot of one-goal games during the regular season. And the question, during the season was, why aren't they winning more games with their skill and by, bigger margins or stuff like that? We've seen that in the past. It doesn't really work. I had no interest in the team winning games like that anyway. And now that we're in this year's playoffs, they are closing out games. They're winning multiple one-goal games, right? And, that series against Ottawa it was pretty tight. It was still very tight, like multiple overtimes there and overtime wins for the Leafs too. So they're doing a great job at keeping everything to the perimeter. They're playing very well, very structured, very poised, and everything's going to the perimeter. They're blocking a ton of shots. Obviously, Chris Tanev helps with that, but everyone's doing it at this point. McCabe's blocking shots, Riley's blocking shots, Carlo's eating pucks as well. Like every single player. And that, for the forwards too. And we'll get into a block shot stat in a second too, but it is mind-boggling. It just goes to show that they are putting their bodies on the line and they want to win more so than any other team right now. So they've let in the fewest goals 5-on-5, which is very impressive. And they got to get going on the power play because if they can do that, they can really separate themselves in games, right? That would be fantastic. But what they're doing right now is really impressive. It's something that I think all Leaf fans can get behind. And they're playing a very well-structured style of hockey and just with so much poise. Like it's so refreshing to see this year.
Yeah, and obviously one of the big issues, I guess, or one of the negative points of Austin Matthews not being the goal scorer we were hoping, even though he's been fantastic, is the power play. They've been struggling a little bit, but Florida is also, the best penalty kill or one of the best penalty kills in the league right now, 16 for 18 coming into this series. So it was that's something to keep in mind. And the stat is just, crazy. And we know that Anthony Stolarz, isn't traveling with the team. So they're going to need to do this. And it fits perfectly into the Joseph Woll, goalie conversation, even Scott Laughton, which we'll dive into in a little bit here. They need a stat like this, which shows they're playing great hockey in order to win these games. You can see this here. Nylander, just a quick note, Nylander on wearing the same suit for 3 games in a row. This is going to tie into what I have in a minute here. It's just the one that's in front right now. Obviously some superstitions, a bunch of different things talking about how William Nylander doesn't feel pressure. And this team doesn't feel pressure, and maybe that's why they're playing so well. They don't seem to be, turning over the puck as much, although Morgan Riley would have something to say about that. They don't seem to be making a lot of mistakes we saw in previous years, and it's because they don't feel pressure. They're behind their goalie. They're behind everybody, and Scott Laughton is spearheading this as well. You can see this here. Scott Laughton is in the house of all Panthers heads right now. He's walking around their kitchens, leaving all the cupboard doors open, and we discussed this in the stream yesterday. Scott Laughton has played, we were told by former teammates, his family members, everybody who knows Scott Laughton, that in the playoffs he's going to shine. He is doing everything needed, and whether or not he's directly impacting the the advanced analytics we're talking about here, or if it's just looking at it from our perspective and the outsider looking in, he has been unbelievable, and he's one of the reasons that this team and that fourth line seems to have the Panthers a little bit shook in their whole team in general. Paired with Morgan or William Nylander not being shook at all, no pressure. The team just they're built different, and that's the best way to put it. And that's from Brad Living downward.
Scott Laughton has been a difference maker in this series and in the playoffs in general. And we'll get to him in a second. But William Nylander, has always been that guy. Like he's playing unbelievable right now, with so much poise, and nothing really gets to him, and it never really has. And I think that the Nylander slander, I said in a previous video and on stream, it's got to end. It's done, right? Like this guy shows up in every big moment for this team. He loves the big moments, and he's just doing it time and time and time and time again this season and this playoffs as well. So he's been fantastic. Another big goal. It's a skilled goal. Like yeah, he chipped it past Bobrovsky. It kind of looked ugly, but to get it from his skate to his stick like that, it was fantastic. And he's playing really well. And, the physicality, maybe up it a little bit, right? But I think that he still has another level to get to. I think that's the scariest part about his game that, I think he can still bring it up a level. So he's been fantastic. And then in terms of Scott Laughton, he's been great all playoffs, and he's just added another, he's made this team that much more dynamic on that fourth line or third line, whatever we're calling it at this point. It's definitely an identity line, that's for sure. But like you said, around the trade deadline, everybody, friends and family, fans of the Philadelphia Flyers were saying this guy just needs to get into the playoffs. This is where he thrives. And you could see he was chirping with Brad Marchand yesterday, and he's getting under their skin. He's been awesome. He has been fantastic. And when he came over, a lot of fans were saying, even us, we were saying, first round pick, it's a little steep for a guy who's going to play on your fourth line, but he's made this team better when they needed it going into the playoffs. He plays a certain role, and he's playing it very well. And yes, it took him a little while to get, he was slow out of the gate when he got traded here, but he's been great ever since playing that role. And I don't expect him to slow down. I think he's just getting started, and the Leafs look like they're just getting started. Like they're getting warmed up now. I think they're in their groove, which is scary for the Florida Panthers. But the Leafs just have to stick to playing their game, and I think they'll be fine. I'm feeling pretty good about this team.
Yeah, the Leafs have been winning games without their first line producing a ton, without their fourth line, scoring, but still doing. Of course, Berube calls it the checking line, which is something they've been doing, and it's very interesting here, and it all kind of lends into the fact of what actually matters over the next few games. That's going to be Joseph Woll. Again, in case you missed it this morning, feel free to check out the video after this one. Craig Berube doubts that Stolarz will be traveling to Florida. He hasn't seen the goalies, so there's no update in how he's feeling. Still no update. We'll probably get one tomorrow during practice. But Joseph Woll, he spoke about how staying consistent in his approach is a focus of his, and he needs to continue this now, because we can talk about Stolarz all we want and how important he is and was this season. Now the focus on Joseph Woll. You have to win game 3. And if he comes out and is consistent the same way, and if the team continues to play good defense behind him, they're going to be in very, very good shape. You can see this here. The thing about Joseph Woll is he might not be flawless, but he'll make those huge saves in the third period that you need to win important games. And obviously he's referencing at least one of the big saves was when he slid across the crease, stuck his leg out, and got a huge save to ultimately win in the game, the biggest save of his career. You pair that with his great playoff stats, he is an absolute gamer, and ultimately the Leafs need him to be in order to win what's going to be an absolutely crazy series to finish off. And we were talking about it off camera. If they win as simple as tomorrow's game, they play a smooth game, and it'll be fantastic for the Leafs if they can go up 3-0. But even if the Leafs lose, game 3, hopefully it doesn't happen, they're still in fine shape. And I think Craig Berube being able to kind of stay the course here is going to be crucial. A couple other comments here before we wrap up. And you look at some of the, advanced analytics here, which, in case you were wondering about them, you can see the Leafs there at the top. And you look at the other teams that were around, you see the Capitals, the Wild, who are eliminated, all these different things. This team, advanced analytics-wise, is also built different. And again, Craig Berube saying he doesn't feel the pressure surrounding William Nylander. Everything, and for the first time, we have a coach who can actually understand William Nylander and the way that he wants to be coached. But any final thoughts on this and the stats here? They are built different, and the advanced analytics show it, which is not something we could say in the past surrounding the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I think they have a great opportunity in front of themselves here heading into Florida. It's going to be a different atmosphere, of course, and Florida's a tough rink to play in. But if you can win the next game, you're up 3-0, right? And I'm not saying that then it's okay to lose a game, 2, maybe 3. It's not okay, but you have a really good insurance policy there where the Florida Panthers, I would assume they're going to win at least a game in this series. But if it's still 3-1 and you're heading back home, you're feeling really good and you have an opportunity to close it out. So they have a really, really good opportunity in front of themselves tomorrow night to essentially put a stamp on this series and say, we only need one more win to close it out. And the Panthers will not be feeling good about themselves, but they have to stick to their game. Joseph Woll has to be good, which he has been. Like in his career, 9-2-4 in the playoffs. He's been unbelievable. So I have all the faith in the world in him. I always have. He's been, touted as the backup goalie this year. And obviously Stolarz was fantastic. He should have started the playoffs, but at this point in time, Joseph Woll's the guy. And I think that everybody should have confidence in him. So it's going to be fun to watch. Great opportunity in front of them. Even if they lose this game, because I do expect a big pushback from the Florida Panthers, you can take game 4, right? And get a split there. But I think great opportunity in front of yourselves. Go up 3-0. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, let us know what your thoughts on that. We'll have multiple videos coming for you tomorrow. Stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching.